Hey there everybody, welcome back to my walkthrough of the challenges for Duels of the Planeswalkers 2013. Last time we took on Reverse the Assault, our very first challenge. Today we're going to be taking on a pretty neat little challenge called Exalted Army. I like the way this one makes you think. So let's go ahead and jump in here. Your exalted creatures are facing off against a throng of flyers. Manipulate the situation to win this turn. Let's go ahead and start this challenge up. Wow, this is like the most common freaking animation for this walkthrough ever. I've seen it like 5 times. Anyway, I really like this challenge, and you'll see why once we complete it. I just like the fact that the main key to winning it is exploring alternative win conditions from what you expect. So let's start off by taking a look at the Exalted mechanic, because that's new to this game. And whenever one of your creatures attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 for each card with Exalted you have on the battlefield. Now that's creatures and, you know, everything else. There's different, there's land cards that have it specifically in this deck. There's a bunch of different cards that have Exalted. All of those boost your creatures. So first off, let's just take a look at the board state real fast. We got 8 open mana on his side, but 0 cards in hand, so we don't have to worry about that. We've got one of my personal favorite creatures, Rune-Scarred Demon, over there. 6/6 flyer, that's really all we have to worry about it. We got a 4/4 flyer for about 1,000 mana. That is not very good. And we've got a 4/4 flyer with flying and vigilance as well, with the classic Sarah Angel. So we got a pretty beefy side over here for him. Not too good looking for us. We also got a couple of weenies on our side, and one bomb. But let's start over here and just go down the line. We've got Sky Hunter Skirmisher, flying double strike, pretty good. Tormented Soul, unblockable, pretty good as well. Knight of Glory, pro black and exalted. We've got Knight of Infamy, his brother, which is pro white and exalted. And then we've got Nephrox, Overlord of Grixis, which is an awesome card, flying exalted. Whenever he attacks, they have to sack a dude, so it's pretty amazing. So right away, we got a lot of things that are immediately going to draw our attention. We've got Tormented Soul, because he's got so many high power blockers out here. And our gut, because we're dealing with the Exalted deck, because we're dealing with a mechanic that generally has to win with attacking with one creature, is going to immediately have us look at this side of the field. Because we got this guy that's going to make him sack a guy, and then we've got these creatures down here as well. But the thing that's really going to support this version of looking at this is going to be in our hand, and that's going to be the 2 pacifisms. But let's take a look at everything we got in here. We've got Seize the Initiative. Target creature gets +1/+1 in first strike. It's pretty good. We've got 2 pacifisms, which are going to stop his creatures from blocking. We've got a buff to our creatures in the front. We got a +3/+0 in Trample, which sounds pretty good. And then we've got 3 more Exalted cards in our hand. Duskmantle Prowler is the one we haven't seen. He's Hastings as well. So we've got several cards in our hand that seem playable right off the bat. And one thing that might draw our attention is the fact that Nephrox has him sack a guy, and we've got 2 pacifisms in hand. The only problem with this, let's just run through this scenario real quick. We pacifism this guy, we pacifism this guy, whatever. We swing in with Nephrox, he sacks one of the pacified guys, obviously, because it's his choice. So it's pretty enticing, but it's actually useless. So we're going to be looking at the 2 pacifisms right now, kind of questionably. The other thing that kind of draws our attention is the fact that this guy's pro-black and this guy's pro-white. With those pacifisms in hand, you might think that you can pacify these guys up and then swing in with one of them, you know, use the Exalted mechanic and win. But our opponent's at 9 life. Even with our 3 Exalted cards in hand, if we dropped all of them, you know, somehow we don't have the mana for it, but if we somehow dropped all of them, pacified both his creatures, we would still not be swinging in for lethal damage, because we'd only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 going on to one of these guys, which is just making them an 8 in the front, which is not doing enough damage. So even there, we're still going, I don't know about these pacifisms. I don't know about swinging in with any of these guys. And then we can look over at Tormented Soul. Now, Tormented Soul is nice in this situation because immediately we think that we can get in there, we can sneak past him, and we have buffs in our hand. Now, the great thing about Tormented Soul is we won't have to waste 4 mana on pacifying any of his creatures. We'll just be able to jump right in and attack him. And the fact that we have Seize the Initiative really feels like a win here. I mean, Seize the Initiative seems to be the most important card, the linchpin in this Exalted offense that we want to hammer in on. The problem is that no matter how we do this, like we have the mana open to drop Warhammer, we have the mana to equip Tormented Soul, and we have the mana to cast Seize the Initiative as well. The only problem with this plan, though, is the fact that the math still doesn't add up in our favor. If we drop Warhammer, that's going to make Tormented Soul a 4-1, okay, because he's going to get the +3. We can drop this at some point, making him a 5-2. He's going to get 3 buffs, still coming out to only 8. So no matter how we look at this, with the Exalted offense, we are not doing lethal damage to this guy. He's got 1 more than we can do to him. So that's why I really like this puzzle, is this means that we have to start looking at some alternative methods or alternative win conditions, alternative methods of winning. Now we got this guy over here, Double Strike. Double Strike is a killer. Just a side note, never forget that the first strike of Double Strike happens before your opponent's creatures assign damage. So if you can buff something with Double Strike, like if this was just a combat regular game scenario and we weren't facing these odds, dropping this on that guy would be absolutely amazing. Not only would you be gaining 8 life every turn if he's hitting both times, but he would be a 4 in the front first striker, which is amazing, especially in the air. So that's just always something to keep in mind. But here, this card and another card we looked at earlier, Seize the Initiative, are really going to come together to win this match for us. Now, how we have to look at this is not in terms of Exalted, which is counterintuitive to what we usually are thinking, and especially in the description, they kind of tried to trick us with pointing out the fact that we have Exalted creatures. But in reality, what we need to look at here is just how much damage we have on the board, our complete and total board state, not just what's happening with the Exalted creatures. So we've got 5, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12 damage on the board right now. We can bump that to, 13 if we play it on one of these guys, but if we play it on this guy, we're effectively going to double its usefulness. So right away, we've got a combo kind of brewing between Seize the Initiative and our good buddy down here, our Sky Hunter. But we have to figure out a way to get in there for enough damage to win, and the problem is that he has so many high defense, high attack blockers. And that brings us back to our pacifisms. Now, we were a little skeptical of pacifism for a while, but now that we kind of have this all-out attack strategy brewing, it's become a much more useful card. It's become much more obvious that this is a card that we want to use. Now, it doesn't really matter what order you do this in. We're going to want to pacify probably the biggest creature. That's usually how you want to use pacify. And then we can really pacify whatever we want. I mean, I picked this guy just because he has vigilance in a combat scenario. I mean, he doesn't have any cards in hand, but we don't really know what's going to happen. A Swords to Plowshares or something would just absolutely destroy us. I mean, he's running black, so there's a lot of stuff that could happen. I mean, these decks don't actually exist in this game, but if he had cards in hand, we'd be a lot more worried here. Actually, there's only one more step to this, or 2 more steps to this, so we're almost there. But let's just see it in action move into combat step. Now here we're just going to swing all out, like I was saying, If we're doing the math correctly, he can only block one of our creatures. He's going to pick the largest, which will be our 5/5, because he has to. He basically has to. Leaving us with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage. But then if we drop Seize the Initiative, which we will be doing the second he declares blockers, you'll see that we're going to do more than enough damage to finish this guy off. That's going to bring that to 4. And we are going to just clobber this guy in the face and defeat Nephrox. Crippling blows, you guys. Crippling blows. That's what it's all about. So there you go. It's actually not too bad of a puzzle once you start thinking of it in some alternate ways. Like, once you start looking at it not in terms of Exalted, you've already won. I mean, that's really where the trick to this comes in. So that's really the only way that kind of makes that a little difficult. It definitely just takes a little time staring at it to get you used to that idea. So there you go, guys. That's Exalted Army. Next episode, we're going to be taking on Drake Expectations. I really friggin' love the names of these things. That is a pretty fun puzzle, too. I really enjoy all these puzzles, though. There's a couple that are a little more frustrating than fun. I'm looking at you, Sculpting the Perfect Warrior. But, yeah, we'll be making our way down there in just a bit. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope it helped you out. And thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next time.